My breath froze in my chest as I stared at the eviction notice stabbed into my cabin door with a rusted nail, the ink bleeding like it was laughing at me. 3 armed guards had stormed off at dawn, their boot prints still carved in the dirt outside. "Vacate in 48 hours, or we'll torch your belongings," the note sneered. This was Grandpa William's lake cabin at Clearwater Lake, Minnesota. Last tethered to him. The Clearwater Lake HOA, led by Victoria Caldwell, thought they could rip it away, but I'd expose their $3 million land grab and make them choke on their lies. I'm Ethan Brooks, a tax analyst from Minneapolis, and 4 months ago, I inherited this cabin after Grandpa William passed at 90. As a kid, I spent summers here, fishing with him until I was 16, when my parents' divorce shattered our traditions. I hadn't returned in 15 years, but after a brutal work year, I craved peace. The 3-hour drive from the city calmed my nerves. Urban sprawl faded into golden fields, then dense pine forests and shimmering lakes. The air hit me sharp, all pine and water, as I turned onto the dirt road. Through the trees, the shoreline gleamed, and there it was, the small A-frame cabin, unchanged. The wooden walls smelled of campfires and childhood summers. The sagging couch still held the dent where Grandpa and I played cards on rainy days. Dusty fishing rods hung on the wall, whispering memories. That first night, I sat on the porch with a soda, watching the lake burn red under the sunset. For the first time in years, I felt whole. I drifted off planning repairs, new porch boards, fresh paint, maybe the dock Grandpa always wanted. At 5 a.m., heavy boots jolted me awake. I yanked open the door to 3 guards in black uniforms, one clutching a clipboard. "Ethan Brooks, Clearwater Lake HOA says you're trespassing. You've got 48 hours to pack, or it's a $30,000 fine." He shoved a thick envelope at me. My stomach plummeted. "There's a mistake," I stammered. "My grandpa owned this place for 60 years. The guard smirked. "Talk to Mrs. Caldwell at the HOA office. Opens at 8. They climbed into a gleaming SUV branded with the HOA's logo and peeled out. I stood in my pajamas, clutching the papers, my mind spiraling. This wasn't the quiet lake community I remembered. Dazed, I wandered to the small dock by the lake. Grandpa's old rowboat sat under a tarp, the wood creaking under my feet. How could anyone claim this wasn't mine? An old man approached from the next cabin. "You William's grandson?" he asked, extending a hand. "I'm Jack Harper, your grandpa's fishing buddy for 50 years. His face darkened when I mentioned the guards. "That's Victoria Caldwell's doing," he said, voice low. "She's run the HOA for 4 years, acting like she owns the lake. Been forcing out old cabin owners for her fancy condos. Your grandpa fought her until he got sick. I spent the morning poring over the eviction papers. They claimed my cabin sat 60 feet onto HOA land, a safety hazard. It was nonsense meant to scare me, but it worked. My chest tightened at the thought of losing Grandpa's cabin. At the dock, I noticed fresh scratches on the posts, like boats had been tied there. "Jack?" I called. "Did someone use my dock?" He snorted. "Victoria's been renting it to tourists for $250 a weekend. Prime spot, deep water, good fishing. She's made thousands since your grandpa passed." Rage burned through me. Not only were they stealing my cabin, but they were profiting off it. That night, under the cabin's floorboards, I found a dusty box labeled "Clearwater Survey Keeps Safe" in Grandpa's neat handwriting. Inside were a 1958 survey, property deeds, and a journal. The survey showed my land stretched 80 feet to the lake, far more than the HOA claimed. Why had Grandpa hidden this? The journal had notes about property lines and fights with the HOA. One entry from 5 years back stopped me cold. Victoria Caldwell offered to buy my lot for condos. Lowballed me. When I said no, she hinted at new rules to make my cabin illegal. I'm ready for her. My heart raced. Grandpa knew they'd come for me. Then I froze. A hidden camera was nailed to my porch, its red light blinking like it was watching me. The HOA wasn't just after my cabin. They were spying, waiting for me to slip up. I drove to town to copy the documents, my mind buzzing. At the Clearwater Lake HOA office, a sleek glass building, I met Victoria, a polished woman in her 40s with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Mr. Brooks," she said, barely glancing up, "your cabin's on community land. Pay the $30,000 fine or leave." I held up Grandpa's survey. "This says I own to the lake." "Your map's wrong." Her smile tightened. Old papers don't count. Our survey's official. See it at the county office. Her assistant, Derek Vance, snapped photos of my car outside. Parking violation, he muttered, handing me a $150 ticket. I left fuming but determined. At the county office, I met Emily Grant, a clerk who knew Grandpa. She pulled the latest records, her eyes widening. Ethan, your grandpa filed a reassessment last year. It confirms your land goes to the lake and includes the cove where the HOA's new dock is. I stared, stunned. Their dock was on my land. Emily nodded. They've been renting it for millions. Victoria's condo project needs that cove. This wasn't just about my cabin, it was a $3 million land grab. Back home, a note was taped to my door. Stop digging, or you'll regret it. My pulse raced. That night, my camera caught two men in HOA jackets tampering with my dock, loosening bolts. I called Jack, who rushed over. That's Victoria's crew, he whispered. They're making it unsafe to find you more. The next day, I confronted Victoria at her office. I know about the cove, I said, holding up the county papers. It's mine, and so is your dock. Her face paled, but she laughed. You're delusional. That reassessment's fake. Leave, or we'll tow your car. As I left, Derek followed, snapping more photos. His jacket had a logo, Caldwell Realty. Victoria wasn't just HOA president, she owned the condo company. Then my water was shut off, a notice claiming emergency repairs for a month. I bought a filter and kept going. In Grandpa's journal, I found a letter. Ethan, the HOA's been after our land since I said no to their deal. The cove's the key. My friend Judge Raymond Holt knows the truth. Find him. My heart leapt. A judge could crush Victoria. I called the county courthouse and learned Judge Holt was still active. I left a message, hands trembling. That evening, a woman knocked. I'm Claire Donovan, your neighbor, she said. I'm a lawyer. Jack told me you're fighting Victoria. I got fined $5,000 for my shed. I want to help. Over coffee, Claire shared how Victoria had harassed her for years. She's scared now, Claire said. Your county papers spooked her, but she'll fight dirty. My camera buzzed footage showed Victoria sneaking onto my dock, planting a broken board labeled hazard. I grinned at Claire. We've got her. But the next morning, my car was gone towed by the HOA for unregistered parking. A $2,000 fine arrived. Then I found a dead fish nailed to my door, its stench hitting me like a warning. My resolve hardened. I'd make Victoria pay. Claire and I watched the footage of her planting the board. We need more, Claire said. She'll claim it's not her. Judge Holt's office called. He wants to meet. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Hope surged. At the cabin, my power was cut, another HOA emergency. I bought a generator. Jack handed me a folder from Mike Evans, an HOA board member fed up with Victoria. It held bank statements showing $800,000 funneled from HOA fees to Caldwell Realty. My tax analyst brain kicked in, his was embezzlement. Mike was scared. Victoria threatened my house, he told me at a diner. I'll testify if you protect me. That dock you own? It's her cash cow, $1 million in rentals. My jaw dropped. Back home, my mailbox was smashed, papers scattered. A new notice claimed my cabin violated fire codes, $15,000. Time was running out. At the HOA meeting, I stood with the 1960 deed I'd found bolted to the dock's foundation, proving I owned the cove. You're lying, Victoria, I said, playing the footage of her planting the board. Neighbors booed. She fined me for my mailbox, one shouted. My car got towed for nothing, another yelled. Victoria stammered. That's nonsense. Judge Holt stood. I've seen the deed. Brooks' land is legal. Her lawyer, Paul Reed, whispered frantically. Victoria hissed at me. You'll never win. I've got friends in high places. But Emily called. Victoria filed an injunction to block your deed. My heart sank. She was pulling strings. Then I found Grandpa's pocket knife stabbed into my porch rail, a note tied to it. You're next, Brooks. My blood ran cold. The courthouse hearing loomed. At 6 a.m., Jack called. Victoria's shredding papers at the HOA office. We raced over. Rachel Moore, another neighbor, was filming. Through the window, Victoria and Derek tossed files into a shredder. Claire called Judge Holt, who sent a sheriff. He stormed in, bagging the files. One paper fell, a contract tying Caldwell Realty to a $3 million condo loan dependent on my cove. Back at the cabin, Margaret Lane brought Paul Carter, a former employee of Victoria's. She told me to fake a water leak on your land to void your deed, he said, handing over a signed statement. But Emily called. Victoria's lawyer claims your grandpa forged the deed. I dug through Grandpa's box, finding a 1959 letter matching the deed signature. At the hearing, I showed the deed, dock plate, and letter. Neighbors testified. Margaret's voice cracked. Paul's hands shook. Claire presented the ledger and sheriff's files. Victoria stood, pale. Carter's lying, she yelled. His grandpa was a crook. Judge Holt raised an eyebrow. Prove it, Mrs. Caldwell, she blurted. I paid for that dock, it's mine. The room gasped. Claire leaned in. She just admitted it's on Ethan's land. Holt nodded, taking notes. Then a sheriff pulled me aside. Your cabin's on fire. My heart stopped. Claire grabbed my keys. We sped back, smoke stinging my eyes. Flames licked the porch where Grandpa's swing once hung. Firefighters saved most of it. Margaret hugged me. We saw Derek near your place before the fire. A gas can with his prints was found. At the courthouse, Claire burst in with the sheriff's report. Victoria's assistant torched Ethan's cabin. Victoria screamed. I didn't tell him to. Holt glared. You're in deep, Mrs. Caldwell. I showed the ledger again. She stole $1.2 million and burned my home to hide it. Neighbors shouted their grievances. Holt slammed his gavel. Enough. The HOA's dissolved. Brooks owns the cove. Case closed. Deputies escorted Victoria out. Emily ran up. The county found Victoria's condo loan was fake. Her company's bankrupt. Back at the cabin, I found Grandpa's carved wooden fish, scorched but intact. That night, Jack called. Derek's at the dock, cutting cables. We caught him, knife in hand. Victoria paid me, he muttered. Claire recorded his confession. The sheriff cuffed him. The next day, neighbors met at my cabin. Margaret proposed new bylaws to protect us. No more Victorias, she said. But Paul Reed called. Victoria fled to Florida, left a note confessing. At the HOA office, we found a fake deed in her handwriting, claiming my cove. Judge Holt voided it. She's facing fraud charges, he said. Then Margaret rushed up. The HOA's dock is sinking. We watched it tilt, cables cut by Derek. Neighbors cheered as Victoria's cash cow sank. At a potluck, Rachel gave me Grandpa's old lake map, marking every inch of my cove. I told Claire, I'm staying. This is home. She nodded, eyes soft. Me too. Emily texted, Victoria's arrested for selling fake deeds online. Free at last, we formed the Clearwater Owners Group with fair rules. I hung Grandpa's scorched fish by the door, a reminder, fight for what's yours. The lake gleamed, and I knew Victoria's reign was over, but her final trick had tested my soul. Truth won, but at a cost.